Hello everybody and welcome to the Matthew Allton Art channel again. Those of you who are regulars here will see this is not a normal video already. Most of my videos are time-lapse video demonstrations of me actually creating artwork. This one I'm actually talking directly to you, and I'm hopefully going to cover the topic of what the Matthew Allton Art Patreon is all about. I've mentioned it in quite a few of the videos recently that I've set one up. It actually launched on January the 1st, 2024. And since then, I've got two patrons. They're very small and very intimate at the moment. But I want to do a video where I showcase what work we've been up to since starting that Patreon in January. It actually started slightly before January, if I'm honest, and one of the patrons joined even before January launch date, because I wanted to populate it with some stuff so that anybody who did join on launch could see what it was all about. So I'm hopefully going to show people today what it's all about, and we're going to look at the work that we've been doing on monthly art challenges. We also do drink and draw events, social events, so we get together every fortnight-ish, and we draw normally from the same reference while having a chat and a drink, which has been very successful as well, and there's lots of work to show from that in this video. I've also done a demonstration, a gouache landscape, which was a bit scary for me. I've never demonstrated painting to anybody before, but the patrons that I've got were really kind and generous, and actually the work that I created after the 2 hours was okay. I was quite pleased with it, to be honest, considering the distractions of being talked to and asked questions about the media and that sort of thing. So those as well. So let's get on with the video and start talking about what it is. For those of you that aren't aware, Patreon is a sort of online service where people who like your work, if you're a creative, can sort of be your patron, and they can support you by giving you money every month to carry on creating the work that you are creating and the projects that you're working on. So it's used by musicians, artists and the like. So it's a way of an artist getting a regular monthly income to pay for materials, transport, anything that they need to further their career. So people like the work, they subscribe, and in return, normally, if you're a patron of an artist or creative, then you get something in return. And we'll talk a little bit about what you do get in return by joining my Patreon. There are three tiers, three levels that you can support me at. Very cheap, all of them. It's not about making money this at all for me, really. It's about creating a community of artists who want to improve and to learn from each other. And it's sort of why I started the YouTube channel right at the beginning. I wanted that sort of vibe. But in YouTube, there isn't really the two-way, the ability to have two-way conversations and to talk in depth with anybody. You can write comments on a video, but that isn't really the forum for getting into challenging each other, for instance, and to learn about different media that you're not used to using and the advantages of those and disadvantages, that sort of thing. So Patreon seemed an ideal way of doing that, really, for me. And it's certainly been working so far. I am so pleased with the two patrons that I've got so far. We've been working really hard and experimenting so much and being pushed out of our comfort zones every week, on different projects and drink and draw and challenges and those sorts of things. So it's going very well from that point of view. There are three tiers that you can join my Patreon at. The lowest tier is $5 a month, and that gives you access to the Patreon, obviously, and all of the there's Discord as well associated with the Patreon, and that's sort of like an online chat discussion board thing, where we can actually post our work that we've completed for challenges and that sort of thing. So that gives you access to that. The next tier up is a $10 tier, and that allows you access to the Patreon. You also get a access to the voice and the video element of the the Discord with that. So that would be the level that you would need to join if you wanted to join in with the drink and draw events, the social events that we do, and also the other type of live events that we do. You also at tier 2, which is $10, get a greetings card sent through the post. One of my greetings cards made out of a piece of original artwork that I got professionally printed a few years ago. They get sent out to your address every month. The top tier is $25, and that gives you all of the above. So access to the chat discussion forum where you can post your work and receive feedback on work and discuss media and that sort of thing. The video and voice access, so you can take part in the social live events. The greetings card is sent out, and you also get a voucher to spend on a piece of artwork by me on my Etsy store. So there are the three levels that you can join at. Right then, so I'm going to stop waffling on at you about what the Patreon is, and we're actually going to start looking at some of the work that we've submitted in order. I'm going to try and do it in order since January when the Patreon launched. So let's have a start with the art challenges. That was the first thing that we did. We basically pick a topic. They were initially going to be monthly art challenges, but we enjoyed them so much, the first patron that joined and I, that we decided that we'd make them fortnightly art challenges so that we could do even more of them. So that's how enjoyable they are. So the first art challenge was glass. And it was just two of us at that point, Multicrons and I. Multicrons is from Romania and joined me. He was a Facebook follower from me originally, and he helped me set up the Patreon before it actually launched. So we were doing these challenges slightly before January, in fact, just so that anybody that joined in January would have some work to look at and to see how the discussion forums worked in the Discord group and that sort of thing. So it was a bit of an experiment, really. So the two pictures that you can see here were for the challenge of glass, which I picked that topic as I was starting out. I did a coloured pencil sketch of a glass lying on its side, which I was very pleased with. And Multicrons did a jar, which I think is lovely. It's really painterly, got lots of interesting layers. It's not particularly realistic, but and I found out since, as Multicrons has done lots of more submissions, that he is a realist, really. He likes to paint things that look real, a bit more like what I have done in my submission for this challenge. But this is really quite nice, I think, from him, and a bit different to what he does in some of the future posts, as you'll see. The next challenge that we did, we set ourselves, was portrait, and this was again just Multicrons and I, the only two patrons so far. And what we did, we sent photographs of us to each other, and we did some portraits from those photographs. So you can see there's two of me on here, one by me, self-portrait, and one by Multicrons. And to be fair, I think he's got my likeness far better than I've ever managed to get my likeness. So well done to him. Work in pencil. And then I did a picture of him as well, which is a okay likeness in charcoal again, my tour in charcoal. And he did a pencil portrait of himself. Again, much better likeness of him than I managed to get of him. Portraits aren't really my thing. Portraits really are Multicrons' thing. So hopefully, as time progresses, I'm going to learn a lot from him in terms of portraits and how to get accurate likenesses. Art Challenge 3 was hands. I provided a reference from a YouTube video of hands in various poses to help with this, and I used those certainly for my submissions. I did one in charcoal and one in pencil. It's something that I'm not particularly good at, so this Patreon is all about challenging yourself to be outside of your comfort zone, really, and do something that you're not really comfortable with. So we thought we'd focus on hands. Multicrons, it's still only the two of us at this point. He submitted um, a wonderful picture of his hands holding his head. So it was almost an extra submission for portrait as well, to be fair. And also hands with material wraps around them, as you can see. So really good efforts from there. We then had another patron join us. We launched at this point. It was well into January, I think. And David joined us as another patron. And I think he picked the next topic for the Fortnightly Art Challenge. And his was a bit different. We'd done sort of things, Multicrons and I, at that point. And David came up with something a bit abstract. So his topic for the next challenge was unexpected pleasure, which got me scratching my head in terms of what I could do for that, really. I ended up doing a jar of Marmite, in that you either love it or hate it. So 50% of people who try it are probably expecting to hate it the first time, but actually if you like it, it's an unexpected pleasure. Don't know why, but I just fancied drawing a still life of a jar of Marmite, and I was quite pleased with it. It was an oil painting. My plan this year was to do more painting, so that the Patreon helped me to fulfill that challenge and do a painting. Multicrons did a wonderful sort of pencil scene of a person sitting on the edge of a hill, as you can see, lovely, very solitude-full. I'm not sure of the story behind that and why that is an unexpected pleasure for him. And David did something in a material that he's not used to using, pastels, and it was a wonderful story and an insight into his life, really. The church that is in his drawing was apparently a place that his granddad, I think, had visited in the war, or had been posted near there in the war or whatever. And he was using, at this point, his granddad's chalk, pastels, I think, to do this painting as well. So I think it was very interesting to listen to the whole story behind that picture. So again, considering he's using medium that he's not used to using, it was a wonderful attempt. The next challenge was animal, and I think I picked that topic. Nothing like pushing people out of their comfort zone. David is a landscape painter, really. That's what he likes doing. Multicrons people. So why not challenge everybody to do an animal? To be fair, I didn't do animals very much either. So you can see here I did another oil painting. So the patron is helping me fulfill my challenge to myself of doing more painting this year. I did a painting of a cat, as you can see. By this point, I'd done a demonstration social event as well. So I demonstrated to the patrons. You can see this later on. I'll add it to the video so you can see a full account of what we've been up to. But I did a gouache landscape painting while having a drink and a chat with them, and them asking me questions about how to use gouache. Neither of them had used gouache before. And after that demonstration, they were obviously so impressed with what I'd done, which is very flattering. And they'd ask lots of questions about gouache, and they both went out and bought some gouache paints to experiment with themselves. So they were not only doing a subject with this animal challenge that they're not familiar with or not particularly happy with, they were also using a new medium that they'd never used before. So Multicrons did a hummingbird, as you can see here, lovely, and the background is wonderful with all the different colours indicated. And David did a stag in a snowy landscape, and I think the effect of the snow that he's managed to get is amazing, really, in this painting with a medium that he's never used before. You know, so he started using in the previous challenge pastels that he'd never used, and then moved on to another medium for the next challenge that he'd never used. So he really is challenging himself in terms of materials, but also subject matter. The next challenge, we're getting more recent now, was trees. I can't remember who picked this. I think it was probably me. It was almost the straw that broke the camel's back with the patrons, this challenge. Um, I'd been watching somebody that I follow on YouTube do some trees, and I was amazed with them. So I thought, let's try and do that ourselves. I did a painting in gouache of some pine trees, actually from a photograph up in the Lake District that I'd taken on a previous holiday. And David used pastels for his submission, and Multicrons used gouache again, so he was carrying on his experimentations with gouache. The two patrons actually got together and did a social event of their own on the Discord and worked together on theirs. So they were moaning at each other about the horrible topic that I'd given them. Um, they weren't happy with either of their submissions, I don't think, really. But I think they've got lots about them, to be fair. But, you know, art is in the eye of the beholder. I think they did a fantastic job of rising to the challenge using difficult media. David, by this point, I think has found that he likes pastel and is persevering with pastel. And I think they're getting better and better as he goes on through these challenges. So that's the point of the Patreon, let's be honest. But I feel bad about giving them a topic that they actually really struggled with. So that was that challenge. And while we were having a social event, David came up, I think, with the next topic of clouds. So the next art challenge was clouds or sky. So for this one, I'd just been up on holiday to near the Lake District, stay in a shepherd's hut, and I painted a view from the shepherd's hut with stormy looking clouds and an active looking sky with lots of clouds looking across the estuary where the shepherd's hut was. Again, another oil painting, so definitely helping me keep up to date with the painting challenge this year. Multicrons hasn't submitted yet for this challenge, so we're looking forward to seeing what he comes up with. If he does, you don't have to do the challenges every month. It's just amazing that so far we all have, to be fair. And David did again a pastel landscape. He did several drafts of this as well during the process. Of I think it's somewhere in Scotland, he said, with lots of nice clouds, as you can see. So those are all of the challenges that we've done since just before January, actually, but mainly since January when the Patreon launched. And I'm absolutely blown away with the effort that everybody's put in to using media that they haven't used before, to tackle subjects that they're not really happy tackling. It's been so inspirational to see everybody's try so hard to come up with something for every challenge. And it's been amazing for me to make me actually do work. It's amazing what having a challenge inspires you to do, even when you're tired after work, because I've got a full-time day job as well, of course. But some days you think, oh, I can't do it. But actually, because you've got a challenge, you actually do it. And I'm just so proud of everybody for doing what they've done in these challenges. I can't stress that enough, really. It's fantastic. I hope you agree with that. You know, not everybody is, well, nobody is a professional artist, including myself, really. If only I could earn a living from art, that would be great. But unfortunately not. So none of us are professionals. You don't have to be a professional. You just have to have a desire to draw or paint or express yourself in sort of art, really, to join and take part in these things. So we've had a look at the challenges. I just mentioned it when we were going through those challenges that I did a demonstration as one of the social events, and that had inspired people to go out and buy gouache. So here's the work that I created during that about an hour and a half, 2 hours social event demo. So it's a landscape, you can see. I used a photograph from the internet for this, and I wasn't particularly comfortable in using gouache, certainly not for landscapes. So it was a bit ambitious, possibly, but actually, because I felt so comfortable with the patrons and chatting and whatever, it went far better than I ever could have imagined. And by the end of it, I was quite shocked and pleased how this turned out. And I actually framed this for sale. It is for sale on Etsy if anybody's interested. But it's a really nice, evocative painting that gives the atmosphere of a misty, cold and crisp morning near the edge of a woodland. I think it's really nice. So that was the demonstration that I did as a social event. And there probably will be more demonstrations, and maybe patrons might do some demonstrations if they want to. And we can all watch and ask questions about the media or the subject that they're tackling. So that's something that I want to keep developing going forwards, more of those sort of demo type events. Right, so that's the challenges done, and I've shown the demo that I did. I think that was back in January. So the other thing that we get up to on a regular basis is the drink and draw events, as I've mentioned. It's drink and draw or paint or whatever. So let's have a look at some of the work that we've created during those drink and draw events. What we tend to do is work from the same reference photograph or a few photographs, and we all work on the same subject, different media, so people use different media to create the work, and then we can see each other creating it, but also hold it up at the end to show each other what we've actually been doing while we've been chatting and having a drink. So the first one of these was way back in January. It was only Multicrons and I at that point, and I took a photograph of a small oil lamp that somebody had given me. Actually, they bought it for me as a present to actually do a drawing or painting of it years ago, and I'd never actually done it, so I thought it's about time. So I took a photograph on my mantelpiece of this hurricane lamp, and Multicrons and I sat. We'd never met before, we'd never chatted before. It was amazing to be thinking that I was drawing the same thing at the same time as somebody else in Romania, and having a chat and getting to know each other and that sort of thing. It was a really nice event. We both used, I think, pencil for this, just to fill a sketchbook page. It went on for about an hour and a half, I think, and it was really enjoyable. And these are the results of what we came up with. Multicrons didn't quite get his finished, but it's a wonderful piece. You can see the very different style between the two of us. So mine's quite scratchy and sort of very definitive marks, whereas his is much softer, and he does that quite a lot in his work with pencil, sort of blends the pencil quite a lot. So that was a real success. The next challenge for the drink and draws was picked by Multicrons. He chose an artificial flower in a vase as the reference photograph. This sent palpitations through my body, in that I don't do flowers. Somebody challenged me on the live streams that I do on YouTube to do a flower in the first live stream, I think, and I had tried and failed. And it's not a subject that I naturally turn to in my art, but you know, it's a drink and draw. I've got to do it. If I'm going to turn up and be sociable, I've got to do it. So had to go. You can see here the reference photograph, but also my efforts were done in a medium that I don't think I've ever used, really, to be fair. Bought lots of them, watercolour pencils. So again, just an experiment really while chatting, and I was quite pleased with how it turned out, really. It's very soft and a bit too wishy-washy and pale, but you know, it could have been worse, and it was a very sociable event, so not a waste of time. Even if it had been a disaster, it doesn't really matter in the Patreon. You know, you're having a go, and maybe learning as you're having a go. That's what it's all about. David did his in pastel, and again we were watching how he was using his pastels, because neither of us, Multicrons and I, have used pastels yet, I don't think. Though I think Multicrons has recently bought some pastel pencils, probably inspired by David. Inspiration going always in this very small group. And Multicrons did another Goauche painting, which I think is wonderful. It's so vibrant and very evocative of the original drawing, the original photograph that he used as a reference. So a really good effort on that challenge. The next drink and draw event was picked by David, and he picked some photographs of Stonehenge. So his favourite topics are landscapes, so sort of and skies, and the photographs that he picked had big skies on them. So we all got these photographs before the event and put them on our screen so that we could work from them. Got together, had a drink and a chat, and did the work that you can see on the screen now. Mine was done in gouache, sort of A4 size gouache, and I was really quick at it actually. It came together really quickly. I suppose it's with all the practice that I'm getting by doing so many things recently, not just on the Patreon but outside of the Patreon. But it went really well. It's a bit pale, but I quite like the sky. I think I did the sky quite nicely in that. Multicrons was using gouache as well, I think, so still persevering with his gouache. He wasn't quite so happy with his. It's probably the one with the best atmosphere in terms of it's looking quite dark and brooding, his Stonehenge. And David used pastels as usual. Well, I say as usual, his new thing, he used to be an oil painter, but he seems to have turned into a pastel painter since being on the Patreon. So it definitely inspired him to go into a different direction. But again, all three good pieces of work, considering we're only doing it while half concentrating on and chatting to each other. Really enjoyable evening that was. The next drink and draw was, I think, last week. And Multicrons picked the reference photograph. It was a photograph from the internet of a DJ Cap, I think his name is, from Germany. I'm not a portraitist at all, and I wasn't expecting to do anything worth looking at, to be fair. But actually, I was amazed with what I came up with. I am really, really proud of what I've done here, in that it's a very good likeness. And I'm really chuffed with it, you know, and we were sitting chatting while doing it. So I don't know, the support seems to work somehow. It seems to elevate your efforts. It doesn't matter, I suppose, if you're doing something on your own. It doesn't matter if you succeed or fail, but you sort of want to succeed, I suppose, when you're doing it with people. So I was really pleased with my efforts, and the other two as well. David certainly doesn't do people. I'd already challenged him with trees and animals that he doesn't do. But I think, you know, for a first ever, I think he said portrait, he's done amazingly well with his, really. And they all have a similarity to the actual reference photograph, as you can see. And Multicrons was back in his comfort zone because he loves doing portraits, and he was using graphite again for this. So he was really pleased to get something that I think looked better to him than the last few bits of work that he'd done. So the trees, he wasn't pleased with that, and the Stonehenge, he wasn't particularly pleased with that. Far too critical of his own work, I think, really. Everything that you do, whether it turns out right or wrong, is a learning experience, I think, really. And it will inform what you do for the next piece. And that's what it's all about, experimenting and not worrying about the results, really. But I think, as you can see, we're about at the end of all the work that we've done in the first 2.5 months of this Patreon. And I think the work's been varied, interesting, and great, really. I'd just like to take this opportunity to really thank the 2 patrons that I have got so far. They have been so inspirational to me and so uncomplaining of the different tasks that they've been asked to do, the different media that they've tried. And indeed, Multicrons, who helped me set up the Patreon before it launched in January. Thank you so much to him as well. You've been a real inspiration, and I hope that we can grow the Patreon a little bit and have a few more members join us to spread the fun. Thanks very much. As well as all of the work that we've been doing in the various social events and the challenges, we also discuss in the threads on the Discord, you know, in text, new materials that we've bought, artists that we like on YouTube, and I actually post every once in a while an artistic inspiration post. So here are a few of the posts that I've made on the Patreon since it started. I love Henry Scott Tuke, and so I did a YouTube video that's got lots of his work in it. Also, people that have their own YouTube channels like I do. Sarah Burns is somebody that I follow. Sarah Burns is actually the person that I mentioned earlier on who'd been painting trees in Goauche. She works in Goauche and had been inspiring me, which is where that challenge came from. So you can see there's lots of inspiration and talk about art as well as actually creating art in the Patreon. So it's a way of sharing experience with each other. What materials are good, what aren't so good, what paper works with pastels better than others. So it's really good from that point of view as well. So that is an overview of what the Patreon, or what the Matthew Allton Art Patreon certainly is all about. I think you'll agree that it's a really good effort from everybody so far, and I'm hoping that we can grow that as well. And I'd like people to join, other people who are interested in art. I don't want hundreds of Patreons. I think we'd lose the friendly community feel of it, really, and drink and draw events would become more difficult to manage and that sort of thing. But hopefully people now understand a little bit about what the Patreon is, and I think before you buy anything in life you'd like to know what it was. So this video is sort of hopefully to address that for anybody that is half interested in joining it. Give it a go. I mean, even joining at the tier where you can do the social events, it's the cost of a double gin and tonic in a pub a month, so it doesn't cost a great deal. And I think I certainly have got loads out of it since it started, and I know that the patrons that I've got so far are absolutely loving it, and it's making them do far more work and different work than they ever would have done in the past, really. So I'll put a link to the Patreon in the description to this video. If you're at all interested, please just click and join. You can always unsubscribe. There'll be no hard feelings if it isn't for you. But it would be great to have a few more people on board. That's the end of this video, really. A bit of a different video. If you like the video, then please do give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here and haven't been here before, then consider subscribing to the channel, and you'll see how I work. And there's lots of demo videos of me, time-lapse videos of me creating work for you to have a look at. Okay, well, thanks very much, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.